feet and then there we go. Hello, YouTube. Let me get TikTok going. Boom on TikTok. And then we are ready to rock and roll here. All right. 1 second here. Mirror video. Boom. Excellent. All right. Welcome all. Hello, YouTubers. Hello, TikTokers. Oops. Adjusting my camera here. Adjusting my computer screen. I can see all of you. Come on, guys. Don't be evil. There we go. Okay, now I can see everybody. Okay. Hello, TikTokers. Hey, Amanda. Oh, boy. It is Wednesday. Yeah, I had to look. Happy Wednesday, all. How's everybody doing this afternoon? We have some Trump news, a lot of Ukraine news. I mean, Trump-Ukraine news basically is what we've got today. So a lot of news on that front. Not necessarily good news, but we shall see. We'll talk about it. So welcome, folks. This is John Aravosis. I do the show every Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern. We talk about the latest news from Ukraine. We also start the show by talking about the latest news in Trump land. Thank you, Amanda, since I am in Washington, D.C., and I'm a Washington, D.C. political expert. So it kind of seems wrong not to talk about it. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Alan, for the gifts. Please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok, YouTube, etc. So monthly subscribers are very welcome. Not as easy to do on TikTok nowadays because of the ban, but on TikTok you could still become a monthly subscriber, and you can still also, monthly subscriber you can do via my profile on the web. It may not let you do it on the app, but if you go to the web, tiktok.com/@Aravosis, you can do it that way. If it's really being evil on your phone, make sure you click the button that says pull up the, the web version of the site, or desktop version, the desktop version of the website. Also, you can buy more coins to do gifts on TikTok from me or anybody else. Thank you, Gabs, for the gift. Oh, microphone, good point. You can buy gifts to do, or coins to buy more gifts on TikTok by going to tiktok.com/coin. There we go. TikTok.com/coin or coins. My own TV channel. Thank you, English boyfriend. Hey, from your lips to whomever, what do you do? Thank you, Walford. Thank you, Sally. Oh, Sally gifted a gift membership. So Lynn S over on YouTube, you got a gift membership for a month. I think it lets you use some emojis, but it also lets you join our weekend show. So your boyfriend, exactly, my English boyfriend. Anyway, so welcome, guys. So yeah, we've got a lot of good news, a lot of news today. Let's start right away with inflation, only because it's a big topic here in the States, and it also is arguably the number one issue Donald Trump was elected on. He's not spending a lot of time working on it. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, Jorge. But inflation ticked up significantly this morning. Actually, in the U.S., the numbers were not good at all. The stock market was very worried. Everybody's very worried. At the same time, and I'll sort of tell you why we're worried, although inflation on its own, we're worried about, right? Inflation was a huge problem a couple of years ago coming out of COVID. It then got under control, but the problem is relatively under control, like 3%. The U.S. goal for inflation is always 2%. But 3% is where it is now. It's going up, which is not good. It's a problem in and of itself. It's a political problem for Trump because the main issue Trump was elected on was the economy, was inflation. Inflation's starting to go up again. That's bad. The real problem is going to be for Trump, but also the economy, is literally at the same moment that the U.S. inflation numbers were coming out, saying that inflation was going up in the U.S., which is bad. Trump tweeted that a call for interest rates to come down. He wants the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. Here's the problem with that. Lowering interest rates raises inflation, period. I mean, there's no argument here. Thank you, Philly, for the gift. Thank you, Adventures. Interest rates are the number one tool for controlling inflation. Interest rates have been coming down, finally, right? The last year and a half. Because inflation was finally under control-ish. But the Federal Reserve got very concerned when Trump was elected. They said outright, because of the election and the changes, they were thinking of slowing down a little because they are worried that Trump's proposals will cause more inflation. That is why this year, actually, 2025, The Federal Reserve is now planning to lower interest rates twice, to cut interest rates twice this year. They had originally planned 4 times. But because they're worried about inflation now ticking up even, it was persistent, it wasn't going away, now it's actually going up. And they were concerned about Trump's proposals increasing inflation, they're now talking about lowering fewer cuts at the very least. What does that mean? If interest rates don't get cut, that means your mortgages don't get cheaper. Or interest rates may even go up, for example, right? Mortgages don't get cheaper or become more expensive. Any kind of loans become more expensive. Interest rates go up, it costs businesses more, so the stock market goes down because companies overall aren't making as much money. They're spending more on interest. So interest rates, there is no good thing to be said about interest rates going up, except it does help to get inflation under control. So anyway, so that's the big problem. I bring it up because it's a huge, yeah, thanks, Marty. I had a neighbor tell me that too. She goes, you look 15 years younger with that haircut. I was like, okay, apparently I'm going to have to keep my hair shorter now. Thank you for saying that. But this is a huge problem for Trump because it is the number one issue for voters. Inflation always is. It's going up. Trump is talking about cutting interest rates. Fortunately, he does not have the power to do that. The Federal Reserve has the power, but Trump is trying to put pressure on them to lower interest rates because it does make the economy grow faster, but it also causes inflation. We can't do it. The other problem, at the same time, Trump is talking about tariffs. Tariffs cause inflation. We've talked about it a lot. You can Google the topic. I won't go through all of it right now. During the Q&A, if people want me to explain again, I can, but tariffs cause inflation. That's the first problem. Second of all, Trump wants to kick out all the people here illegally. I'm sympathetic, to be honest. I mean, to a degree. I don't like people being here illegally. Here's the problem. What does it do to our economy? American farms. Half the people working American farms, working the fields, are here illegally. If we kick them out, we lose half of our workers. Where do they replace them? It's not like there's a lot of Americans wanting to work in the field, picking pumpkins and things. They don't. Where are we going to get these people? We're not. We're going to have fewer workers. We're going to have fewer goods. The price per worker is going to go up, which causes inflation again. And we're going to be able to pick fewer goods, which causes inflation because there aren't as many goods for us to buy. So Trump's policies across the board risk inflation. The final thing that risks inflation is government spending. Now, Biden did this too. I'm not going to let Biden off the hook on this one. And as I've told you, I try to sort of be fair here. I mean, I'm not a Trump fan. I think he's dangerous, but I will be honest about what he's doing and what Biden did. Biden had these huge $3 trillion proposals. One of them passed. That $3 trillion proposal, the infrastructure bill, did help add to inflation. It did. When you do big government spending, it adds to inflation. Well, Republicans are talking about massive tax cuts. That can add to inflation. They're also talking about spending a lot on some other programs too. Bottom line is Trump's proposals across the board are pretty inflationary. He's going to have a political problem with that. All right, let's move on. Tulsi Gabbard got confirmed, which is very scary, as the Director of National Intelligence. She's the top intelligence, meaning CIA, that kind of thing. Top intelligence coordinator for the United States. It's a very bad thing. She has a history of regurgitating Russian propaganda. She blamed the war in Ukraine. She blamed the Russian invasion on NATO. She didn't blame Russia. She blamed NATO for Russia invading Ukraine. Thank you, Janice, for the gift on TikTok. She was a big, or a relative, I would say relatively big supporter of Assad, the dictator in Syria, who was recently overthrown. She even went and visited him back in 2017. She refused to call him a dictator. She refused to accuse him of war crimes. Her positions are very creepy because they are in line with America's enemies. And a large number of people came out against her nomination. She is heading up intelligence at the White House, coordinating the intelligence from all the intelligence committees. She is looking at the most high-level intelligence in America, the highest top secret stuff you can get. She's going to be seeing and dealing with. This is very bad. She was confirmed. Only one Republican voted against her, Mitch McConnell, which is kind of funny. He's not running for election again, so he felt comfortable doing it. It's very bad. It's very bad. Guys, people like that, by the way, I want that person banned. Ash, I want that person banned. Anybody who starts talking that way needs to be banned. I'll tell you privately why, but we don't want them hanging around. So yeah. All right. Thank you. But anybody, actually, I'm gonna message Ashley separately. One moment, Ashley. La la la, Ashley. Okay, Ashley has been messaged separately. There we go. Any case, so Tulsi Gabbard, very bad. Trump announced today he wants the Department of Education shut down immediately. That would be a crime. He's not allowed to shut things down immediately. Nonetheless, that's very bad. Yep, that's okay, Ash. I was just making sure. But Republicans have long wanted the Department of Education shut down. You know, what do you do? Sound should not be off. Is the sound on you? I'm assuming on TikTok my sound is still on. Yep. Folks, tell Matt that if he needs to, he should leave and come back in case it's not working. Because that can happen sometimes for folks. All right, good. It's working for everybody else. That's good. What else we got here? Actually, here's something Trump said today that's good. Here's something Trump said today. Trump said today that he would obey the courts. Thank you, Joshua, for the gift. Now, you know, it's unfortunate that the bit of praise I give Donald Trump is that he's not going to be a tyrant. I mean, okay, I'll take it. But he was asked today about a number of courts striking down his executive orders. And he said, you know, that's the law. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the law. If they order that, we've got to do it, but I don't like it. We'll appeal it. That's a good thing. I mean, it's a very good thing. You know, we don't want him. The big concern is a constitutional crisis where Trump just says, I'm no longer going to obey the courts. If the courts tell me what I'm doing is illegal, I'm going to do it anyway. And how many, you know, as the old, I'm forgetting who was the old famous quote from about how many troops how many troops or whatever does the Vatican have? The idea is basically the Supreme Court doesn't really have the power to implement its orders. It simply rules and it kind of hopes people obey. And this is sort of a very famous Supreme Court case, you know, going back to Marbury versus Madison, which I want to say might have been 1803 or something in law school. I forget exactly. But in any case, it was good that Trump said, I mean, again, I really mean this. It was good Trump said it. It was good that Trump said, I'm going to obey the court and we will appeal. You know, I don't like it, but if they say it, I guess we've got, we've got to obey it. That is good. It's problematic that I have to praise a president for saying I'm not going to break the law, but still, it's better than the opposite, right? So we'll give him credit for that. I don't know. Was it a quote from Stalin? He said something like, how many legions does the Vatican have, or something like that? There was some quote like that, but I can't remember. If anybody can find it, I'm just kind of curious who that said. But I'm looking to see if anybody finds the quote there, but it's interesting. All right, we'll keep going here. Elon Musk, however, Elon Musk today, that proud relatively new American citizen, came out and said there needs to be an immediate wave of judicial impeachments, not just one. Elon wants all the judges fired who disagree with him. He wants them all fired. Elon, I know you're new here. Americans don't kick out judges because they lose at court. We don't do that in America, at least not yet. In America, the judge makes the decision. That's the rule. You can appeal it, but you have to abide by what the judges do, and you don't get rid of them simply because they disagree with you, because then it's not really judges or judiciary anymore. Then it's a kleptocracy where rich people run the country. Elon might be a little confused as to what America is about. Let's put it that way. Interesting on that front. And this is another good thing. We have Trump officials agreeing with the rule of law. This is interesting. Pam Bondi, who's Trump's attorney general, the head of the Justice Department, was asked about Elon calling for judges to be impeached, any judge who disagrees with them to be impeached. And she disagreed. She said, no. She said, the process is to appeal. Again, That's helpful. It doesn't mean it's going to continue to be the policy of the Trump administration, but that's still really good. That's still really good that she said it. So, all right. We did find out today that the American official that Trump got released from Russia, that is in exchange for a Russian cyber crime boss. He's going to be released in exchange for American school teacher Mark Fogel. The other thing that I'm a little suspicious about, and that's it for the Trump. Well, that's it for the non-Ukraine news. Now we're going to talk about Ukraine. Let me mention what happened with Ukraine, and then I'll take a couple quick questions or comments if people want to talk about this before I get to Ukraine. But basically, Trump also made some huge Ukraine news today about what's going on with the negotiations. But before we jump into that, I've been trying to sort of do the show where we stop a minute and you guys can comment on the first chunk of Trump news, etc. So comment away. How many divisions? That's the quote, Michael Darling. Correct. I wasn't saying legions. I remember it was a particular military word. Who's the actual, who's the source that said it? It was Andrew Jackson? About the Pope? Get out. No. Who was it who said it? Yeah. How many divisions has he got? It almost sounds like something Truman would say or something. Or what's his face from the 1960s? Stalin said it? It was Stalin. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Michael. Interesting. How many legions does he have? Except the Pope does have legions. He's got I forget how many Catholics. Are there several hundred million at least? Not a small number. Anyway, it is. Well, let's talk about that. Somebody said it's good you believe things Republicans say. That's not really the point. The point is that one of the biggest dangers from Trump is that he's changing the culture around us. And he's convincing Americans to act in a way that is not very American and not very good, to disobey and not believe in the rule of law, right? To believe that we should be split from each other, to believe that half the country is bad and evil. When Donald Trump and his people send a message, and mind you, part of the problem is their followers listen. Their followers agree. Regardless what they are told, they say, yes, sir. Okay? When you've got a very obedient base of followers like Trump does, when Trump and his people say that the rule of law is important, when Trump and his people say you should obey courts, that's really important, because that is whether you believe him or not, his followers believe him. They don't do nuance. His followers believe him, and they hear him standing up for the rule of law and saying, no, we've got to defend courts even if we don't like them. That is very helpful for Trump's people to hear. That's why I'm saying it. I do not trust Trump as far as I can throw him, but you better believe it is helpful for the culture overall in America for him to be saying positive things like that, because his followers don't get nuance. They don't go, well, he doesn't really mean it. They go, oh, okay, Trump said it, so I guess that's the case. So that's very good. 1.3 billion Catholics. I wasn't sure if it was even a billion. That is a lot then. Okay. More Muslims, I'm guessing. I shouldn't say that. Maybe more Muslims, maybe not. There's 300,000 Muslims. Not necessarily. There's 300,000 Muslims in Indonesia, I think. I'm going to go with 500,000 Muslims. How many Muslims are there? We could ask my Alexa, but she's kind of not quite, she's not quite with it. We can try. Alexa, how many Muslims are there in the world? 1.9 billion away.
In 2010, the Muslim population in the world was 1.55 billion people.
Okay, Alexa, quiet. Alexa. Okay, this is why I hate Alexa. In 2010, well, it's 2020. Alexa, quiet. It's 2025. Like, why are you telling me? Why are you telling me what the population was in 2010? No, you know what I mean? Like, she's so dumb sometimes. I really don't understand my Alexa. It boggles my mind. No, but it's just like, you ask it, well, in 2010, well, that's really nice. I didn't ask how much was the population. So yeah, so almost 2 billion. That's interesting. That's fascinating. I thought it was less because Indonesia is the largest Muslim country, and I think that's 300,000 or 400,000. But anyway, that's way more than I thought because of Indonesia being the largest. That's very interesting. I don't think Alexa needs something else. I don't know what Alexa needs. Alexa just, she's just not very good at this. Anyway, All right. So yes, I'm ready to move on with the Ukraine part. What was caught on hot mic? The only thing, Jace, I know that was caught on hot mic was the Canadian Prime Minister. So, but that was several days ago, and I didn't think it was that important what he was caught saying, to be honest. You know, what else we got? I'm not sure what you mean, Rick, on YouTube. I'm not sure what your question means there, though. Okay, reach out. That's fine. Write it again, because I wasn't quite sure what you meant by that. I mean, I know what you mean. You're saying the media isn't doing a very good job, and what do Democrats do? But I'm not quite sure. Write that more specifically if you want to. Elon's boy got caught. Oh, yes. So, well, okay, maybe. I saw videos of Elon's. Elon has 50,000 children, and he always brings the same one to all these events. I think the kid's name is X or something, but he brings only that one child. It's like he has one kid. It's the only kid Elon ever brings anywhere. It's a little weird. And they were at the White House earlier, and there were just 11. Okay, just 11. I thought it was 50,000. Cass says just 11. Elon has 11 children. How many different moms does he? How many different what do they call them? Baby mamas are there, or what do they say? Oh yeah, that's right. The name is even worse than X. 12 kids. I'm seeing 12 kids. 3 moms, 4 moms, 5 moms. Nobody knows. All right. But there's video going around of the kid maybe saying something to Trump. The problem is I'm not convinced from the video I saw what he really said. So I'm not going to repeat what people are saying because, again, I don't like Trump, but I do try to be fair and deal with facts because, first of all, I don't want to be sharing stuff that you guys believe and then you tell somebody else and then it later ends up being wrong because that hurts you. It hurts your credibility, but it hurts mine as well. Because next time you're going to go, that guy told me for sure that's what he said and he was wrong. So I don't know. Some people thought the kid was criticizing Trump or something. The other thing I'll tell you, when I saw the video that was going around, at least, I actually wasn't sure whether somebody had edited the video as well. Because the one I saw already had, language on it. Oh my God, look what he said. This kind of like somebody had already edited the video and it made me wonder, what did the kid really say? Exactly. But 50,000 kids. Well, the 50,000 kids, I'm assuming people realize he doesn't have that many. Yes. It may not be edited, but I want to see. Well, there were two things. The kid shushed. Who did he shush? Trump or somebody in the audience? The kid shushed somebody, but then also made some kind of a comment as well. Thank you, Kat. Appreciate the gift. But yeah, I'm just not sure what the kid really said, so I'm trying to be careful with it. Anyway, let's move on. All right, let's move on to Ukraine. So there's big news from Ukraine here. There's big news from Ukraine. So it is day 1082 of President Putin's 3-day special military operation in Ukraine. Oh boy. This is a mess. It's the mess we expected, but it's a mess. Trump announced today that peace talks with Russia are beginning immediately. He will go to Moscow at some point. Putin will come to Washington at some point, even though Putin's a war criminal. They're going to maybe meet in Saudi Arabia as well, just to add to the, why not? I mean, the guy's a bloody dictator in Saudi Arabia. Why not meet there too? What the hell? The real problem is the details already. Actually, I'll see if I've got it handy. Sky News did a wonderful headline basically about what happened today. Trump's people pretty much already gave Putin everything. I mean, practically everything. It's really bad. It's really, I'm going to leave this open. So hopefully the picture shows up. They gave Putin everything. Pete Hegseth is Trump's Secretary of Defense. He's the guy whose big qualification is that he's pretty on Fox News. So he's got very nice hair that's coiffed really pretty. He has these really pretty sideburns. Those are his big qualifications. He came out today and gave Putin everything. The negotiations haven't started yet. He gave Putin practically everything today. It was weird. Sky News came out and said, just that basically the American Secretary of Defense kind of showed that he doesn't know what he's doing. Let me read you what he gave the Russians already, okay? Trump's Secretary of Defense came out and said, okay, for starters, Ukraine will not become a member of NATO. We're going to promise that right. And mind you, the negotiations haven't even started yet, okay? Trump's Secretary of Defense said, okay, well, Russia, by the way, Russia's number one demand is that Ukraine not join NATO. So Trump just gave it to him for free with the negotiations not even starting. So that's now off the table. By the way, there's no way Ukraine was going to join NATO under any peace treaty. It wasn't going to happen. Eventually in 10, 20 years, who knows, right? But right now it wasn't going to happen. This was easy for us. Why not just, but it's also the Russians' number one point they wanted was Ukraine not joining NATO. Why give it to them for free? We did. Number two, Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, Fox News pretty boy, announces that the U.S. will not be sending peacekeeping forces to Ukraine as part of the deal. That is one of the other huge concerns Russia has. Russia doesn't want American troops near its border. They're freaked out about having American troops. That's the first problem. The second problem is Russia, one of their big goals is dividing the U.S. and Europe. They want basically there to be distance between what the Europeans want and what the Americans want. So if the Europeans have to put peacekeeping troops in Ukraine, but the Americans don't, it shows that we're not working on the same page. So Trump gave that to Russia today without Russia even asking for it. Three, the European troops that would be in Ukraine. Now, the idea between putting European troops in Ukraine is that let's just assume there's a ceasefire, they reach some treaty, I don't know what, let's pretend they reach a treaty. And there's real concern about Russia invading again in 5 years, 8 years, whenever Russia builds its military back up, because Russia wants all of Ukraine. The invasion was all about Russia looking for more land. Russia wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. They want Ukraine back. They used to basically own Ukraine as part of the Soviet Union, and they want it back. Hegseth promised today, not only would there not be U.S. troops as part of the peacekeepers, because you put the peacekeepers in so that you've got basically there's a peace. There are NATO troops all over Ukraine. If the Russians invade again, they've got to attack those NATO troops. If they attack those NATO troops could die or get hurt, and then NATO countries will go to war with Russia. So having NATO troops in Ukraine is a deterrent to Russia invading. So not only are we not putting U.S. troops, but Trump announced today through Hegseth, there will be no Article 5 protection for the European troops. Meaning, if Europe puts troops there, that's fine. But if the Russians go and kill them, America's not going to do anything, is what it means. Article 5 protection means that the NATO promise to protect our allies will not apply to European troops that are stationed in Ukraine. Why would we give this to Putin unilaterally without any... Guys, there's no negotiation happening yet. Thank you, Chris. There's no negotiation yet. Why would we offer Putin for free? We're not going to send U.S. troops. The troops that do go there from Europe, we're not going to defend. If you attack them, we're not going to do anything. Why would we tell him that? Okay. Oh, but it gets better. Trump then says, we're not going to give back Crimea. Now, nobody really thought Ukraine was going to get Crimea as part of this peace deal. But again, why give it to them for free? Why give it to them for free? They did. It's unclear. Thank you, Dave. It's unclear what the disposition is of the lands in eastern Ukraine that Putin took. I can pretty much guarantee you Trump isn't going to want those to go back either. Let me read you a little bit here. Oh, and small point here. It looks like the U.S. will be negotiating with Ukraine. Thank you, Blue Ariel. Thank you, Catherine. Keep the gifts coming, guys. By the way, I do this for free. So please, the gifts support my work and help me keep doing this. Also on TikTok, I've always got to, because the new TikTok rules for making money on these lives, you've got to follow me. You have to. You got to follow me, and you've got to hit that little button up top, which makes you a team member, and TikTok likes that. So please do follow me on TikTok. Oh, thank you for the rain. Was that like a Paddington rain? Who was the? Oh, I'm trying to see. Where's the umbrella of love from Flower Lady? Thank you, real life, and thank you, Trouble. So Trump and Putin so far seem to be the ones that are going to be negotiating. Thank you, Ash. There's no talk of Ukraine being a party to the negotiations about what happens to Ukraine. I mean, it's thank you, SWT, thank you, LR2. Such funny names. Thank you, Vinja. So that's a little crazy, right? I mean, Russia and us are going to get together and we're going to negotiate what happens to Ukraine without Ukraine at the table. So Trump gets asked about it today. He gets asked if Ukraine will be an equal member of the peace process. Trump says, that's an interesting question. I think they have to make peace. He wouldn't answer the question. Then where was this? One second. Oh, in any case, I was going to say too, this kind of makes me wonder. The only thing I can think that's and even this isn't positive, is that Trump gave all of this up in order to get the American released. Whether he gave up Ukraine and gave Putin all this stuff for free, promised no U.S. troops, promised we wouldn't come and defend NATO troops that are in Ukraine, right? Promised there'd be no NATO membership for Ukraine, promised that Russia gets to keep Crimea. That the only reason Trump said this, and I'm being generous here, is he did it to buy the release of that American, maybe? I don't quite, I mean, this is very bad. I probably don't need to explain this to any of you. You don't walk into a negotiation before it starts and say, oh, here are 4 things the other guy wants. I'm just going to give you these for free. Trump did that today. It's very, very bad. The Russians then, of course, what did Russia do? Russia then turned around and put their foot down. Of course, big surprise. The Russians came out and said that they ruled out any discussion of exchanging territories. Basically, what I think this means is Ukraine controls Kursk in Russia, right? A little bit of a Russian territory. Russia controls a lot of Ukrainian territory. The Russians said, we're not going to trade. We're not going to trade for, the part of our territory the Ukrainians hold. We're not going to trade that for the part of Russia for the part of Ukraine that the Russians hold, because Russia's not giving up the territory it stole from Ukraine. And Russia says, we're just going to continue the war until we get our land back. Then how is this? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, how is this a negotiation? Because it's sounding a lot like Afghanistan, where we just pulled out and we just let everything fall to pieces. How is this a negotiation? It doesn't sound like a negotiation. It's actually not a negotiation. Trump has unilaterally caved on most of the major issues Putin wanted. Where's the negotiation? Again, it's Afghanistan is what this is turning into very quickly. All right, more here. Trump did talk to Zelensky. He had an 1.5 hour long conversation with Putin. Afterwards, he talked with Zelensky. Trump came out and said the conversation went very well. Zelensky, like President Putin, Zelensky, like President Putin, wants to make peace. Yeah, Putin wants to make peace. Sure, he does. We discussed a variety of topics having to do with the war, but mostly the upcoming meeting in Munich, which will be, I guess, between Vance and Zelensky. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent met with Zelensky today. Now, this is an interesting point that Bessent brought up. And this may be the only saving grace for Ukraine in all of this. Bessent, who's Trump's Treasury Secretary, talked about Trump's demand now. Trump wants to get ownership or whatever of part of Ukraine's rare earth metals, titanium, what do we say? Titanium, maybe lithium, cobalt, some other ones. And the Ukrainians have a lot of them. And Trump wants the U.S. to get access to them, whether it means we get some of them for free, whether it means we get partial ownership of the mines, who knows? But we get some kind of benefit, which is not which I agree with. Not a bad thing, right? Not a bad thing at all. I think the U.S. should get something out of this. What's interesting is what Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, said today. He said the critical minerals deal between Kyiv and Washington could leave Ukraine with a security shield once the war is over. This is very interesting. What I think he's talking about, and I said this as well, I said like a week ago to you guys that if Trump sees value in Ukraine, in Eastern Ukraine, and sees that there's all these minerals and stuff that we want, A, we want, and B, we don't want our competitors getting it. We don't want the Russians getting it. We don't want the Chinese getting it. Trump is going to be less appeasing to the Russians if they invade again. What I think Bessent is saying is, imagine if the U.S. government is part owner of some of these mines in Eastern Ukraine, and the Russians go in and invade. How do the Russians invade and take over these mines if these mines in part belong to the U.S. government? Right? That's interesting. I mean, that actually is interesting, because the Russians are going to be a little more concerned about taking it if the U.S. government literally owns the mine. I'm serious. That's very interesting. And this is what I said. I wasn't putting it. I did say it a week ago, more or less. Anyway, I'm intrigued by that. Now, that's not why Trump wants them. Trump does not want the mines in order to do a security game to stop the Russians. Trump wants the mines because he just wants stuff. You know? Oh, hey, Joey. Good to see you. I assume you're the real Joey Contino. The number of fakes that are out there of me now, I'm sure you got the same problem. But no, I think it's very interesting. And as I said a week ago, to the degree that it's really you, good. To the degree that Donald Trump sees Ukraine as valuable to America, that's good, right? Because again, it makes him want it, and it makes him want to stop other people from getting it. So that's a good thing. Because then if the Russians invade now, the Russians would be basically throwing it in Donald's face, stealing Donald Trump's minerals in Eastern Ukraine. Again, anyway, like I said, if I'm Ukraine, this is not a bad deal. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Jay. All right. The last little thing. So this I thought was interesting. This was interesting. And I wasn't quite sure what prompted this. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who was the former Prime Minister of Holland. We old people say Holland, the Netherlands. He said in the last day that if Putin attacks NATO, the reaction will be devastating. He will lose. I did not see what motivated that comment. It worries me a little because Putin will lose if he attacks NATO, but it worried me a little that the NATO Secretary General felt he needed to remind the Russians publicly that if they attack us, they will lose. Like what? Right? Like what is he worried about that he felt the need to say that? I'm glad he said it, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, all right. That is it for the news. Let's hang out and chat. He was asked. Okay, Steve. I guess that's a little better, Stephen. He was just asked directly. Okay, that's a little better then. Yeah. Anyway, so yes. What else is going on, or not? What's going on? What do you guys think of any of these stories? The Weimar statement about Ukraine issue today, pretty bad. Well, if you mean, are you saying just about Hegseth especially making his comments, or what do you mean? Which comments exactly? Well, that's true. Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? Inger says Danish security officials said Russia is probably ready for war with NATO within 5 years. That seems to be the number that comes out a lot. I think from the polls, I don't remember from the polls if we heard 3 or 4 years. I think we heard something similar, maybe from Estonian intelligence or something, but we keep hearing this 3 to 5 year range. Some of them said as long as 10 years. Viola's saying 3 years. Yeah, we were hearing that. And guys, the problem is Putin's right. We do need to fix the underlying cause. Here's something very funny that Putin did, because Putin said the truth, but he couched it. He said, we must address the underlying cause of the war, or the war will never stop. He pretended the underlying cause of the war was NATO expansion. When the Soviet Union ended, all of Russia's hostages in Eastern Europe and in Russia, in the Soviet Union itself, pretty much all the countries were being held hostage by Russia. They fled because the Russians lost control of the Soviet Union and the country dissolved. Well, the country dissolved. Ukraine became free. Latvia became free. Lithuania, Estonia, all these countries became free. Eastern Europe, that was under the Russian yoke, became free. And all of these former Russian hostages ran to NATO and said, please protect us from the man who kidnapped us. NATO, protect us from the Russians. Putin is now saying that, oh, because you accepted all of our former hostages as NATO members, we got upset and had to invade Ukraine. No, he invaded Ukraine because he wants the Soviet Union back. He invaded Ukraine because the Russians really want these countries back. Russia was at its apex in many ways when it was running the Soviet Union, because the world was terrified of Russia, right? They had weapons, they had power. They were the equal of the United States. They're not our equal now, but they were our equal back then, right? So what worries me is Putin is telling the truth when he says, if we don't address the cause of the war will happen again. The problem is the cause of the war wasn't NATO. It wasn't NATO expansion. The cause of the war was Russian expansion. It was Putin wanting to reconstitute the Soviet Union. He wanted to add more countries to Russia. And that does not change. They want Ukraine. They've wanted Ukraine since forever, but since 2014, so that they will invade again to get more of Ukraine. That is going to continue happening. That's the concern. And what worries me is it's not enough for us to say, oh, well, we'll just neuter NATO and promise that we're not going to come defend NATO troops and everything that Trump said. That's not enough. What that's going to do? That's not going to stop saying that we're not going to have U.S. troops in Ukraine, saying that we will not come to the defense of European troops in Ukraine, saying that Ukraine will not join NATO. That does not make it more likely that Russia remains peaceful. That makes it more likely that Russia goes to war, because Russia says, well, I know next time Trump said he won't come and defend the Europeans. That's great. Next time the Americans won't be there. That's great, right? So it's unfortunately, as a foreign policy expert myself, if I may say so, Trump, if you don't resolve this war the right way, you're going to have another war. And that's a pretty standard, thank you, Julian. That's a pretty standard, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a syllogism, or what's the word, but, kind of a standard point in international affairs. Wars that aren't resolved well happen again because the problem still exists. It's very bad. It's very bad. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about with the Weimar statement. You've said that repeatedly, but I don't know what you're talking about. So you tell me in other words what you're talking about. Sounds like a European problem, not an American one. Oh, want to bet? Who do you think we do trade with? What do you think will happen if the Russians invade Europe? What do you think will happen to the American economy? Boop, boop. What do you think is going to happen to America going to war? You really think even Donald Trump is going to get away with America staying out of a war if the Russians go to war with the Europeans? My family is Greek. Your family's Polish. Ashley's family is Polish and Italian. I mean, we've all got family in Europe. Not most of us, but a lot of us. A lot of us. Certainly those of us in power have got family in Europe. I would go even farther with that. The Americans that have the money and the power, the political power and the money, are a lot of European-based or Europeans origin Americans. I do not think the U.S. stays out of the war if Europe goes to war with Russia. I don't think so. I think Trump would like us to stay out of the war. I don't think it happens. So that's why this is an American matter. We learned 108 years ago, that when the U.S. stays out of war in Europe, the war happens anyway without us, and it gets bad until we've got to join anyway. We learned it in World War I. We learned it in World War II. And also, look around the world. Do you think, the Middle East is a disaster. Do you think it would be better if we just said, oh, well, let's just let it all happen, and there's lots of terrorism and bad stuff sending to our country, and let's just let it be, oh, well? That doesn't work that way. International affairs doesn't work that it works the same way kind of policing your own neighborhood does, right? When you say, well, I want the cops on my block, but I don't really care what happens the next block over. Well, I got news for you. If you let crime run rampant the next block over, or even the next mile over, eventually they're coming to your neighborhood too. And that's how international affairs works. Now, Gunther makes an interesting point. Gunther says, I hate Trump, but the European Union needs to have an equivalently powerful military, especially since its population is 100 million more than the US. Yes, and that's a bad thing for America. Great for Europe. Europe has got to build up its military. Europe has got to take, Donald Trump is not going to come to put it this way. Donald Trump is not going to want to come to your defense. Maybe he'll be forced to, I don't know, but I would not count on Donald Trump defending you. You have to defend yourselves now. Democratic-run presidencies in America will come to your defense. Democratic-run presidencies will obey their treaty obligations to you. They will obey their economic treaties as well, not just the military treaties. Republican administrations, I would not count on that. You need to build up your own military. You need to build up your own defense. And the problem that means for America is rather than having a Europe that we control, and I'll say this, I mean, again, from a European perspective, this is great. But from an American perspective, we control Europe at this point. Europe's free, but we still control them, right? We're equals, but we're not. We're the big equal, right? We've got the bigger military. We've got the bigger economy. We push Europe around. If we let Europe go and form its own unified military structure and basically become an equal to us, build up their nuclear weapons, by the way, which Europe probably should do and may do, the French and the Brits, and maybe others, who knows, in Europe. But they build up their nuclear weapons. And we don't influence, basically, and Europe is now independent of us militarily. It means they don't necessarily do what we want them to do. When we have wars we want to fight in the Middle East and we want their help, they don't have to help us as much anymore. I mean, this is where it gets difficult. You as a country, you want to be able to push other people around. I mean, you really do. We want Europe under our thumb. We want to be able to tell Europe what to do economically and militarily. The more Europe becomes independent economically and militarily, that's very good for Europe. That's very bad for the people who used to. Basically, it's almost in some ways an imperialistic relationship in some ways. I mean, because we don't control you guys, but we have way too much influence. You know what I mean? And in some ways, it's almost an imperialistic relationship. For the imperial power, it's very beneficial. For the lackey, it's not beneficial at all for the country that's being controlled. So this is like India becoming free. Great for India, less good for England, right? That's what's happening here to some degree, even though our relationship is much more equal than you had in the Commonwealth. No offense, Brits, but right? I mean, different relationship there, but still, it's to our benefit to be the lead dog. And Trump is saying, I don't want to be the lead dog anymore. Okay, but at some point we're going to need them, and we'd rather have them be like this with us than some equal power. Macron already said this. The president of France, like a year ago now, whatever, a year, maybe more. And he was talking about China, and America sees a really great threat from China. And Macron, the president of France, said something to the effect of, we don't share America's view of the world. Like, they're all worried about China and stuff. That's not our concern. We're not over there. You know what I mean? Like, because America is on the Pacific. We are also a Pacific country. So we've got China on the same ocean as us. The Europeans, And it was a very interesting thing for him to say, because it gets to that, and it actually worried people. It worried people here, at least, that he was kind of suggesting that if the U.S. ever went to war with China, it might not be in Europe's interest to get involved. Right? I mean, if we go to war with China over Taiwan, which all the Republicans say we will, and all the Democrats do too. I mean, America's pretty united about going to war over Taiwan. Trump, though, who knows? Trump. Do we want the Europeans sitting out? No. Like, we want the Europeans helping. We want the Europeans helping out. So that's very scary too. It's very scary. We have 1.5 million active personnel in the European. Oh, you mean you guys do? Who does? The Europeans, you mean? Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Trump is just ridiculous saying we're going to make Canada the 51st state. First of all, he never would, because you're all going to vote Democratic. That's the first problem. I mean, I will bet you most Canadians would be to the left of Americans. I think so. And we've said this about healthcare alone. Yeah, your healthcare system is a pain in the ass. Wait till you deal with our healthcare system, where I got news for you. You still have to wait months to see a doctor sometimes, especially specialists. You do. I mean, I've had to pull strings to get into specialists. I had to call like friends that were influential and they contacted doctors on my behalf to get me appointments. That's in America, guys. This is not the UK or Canada, right? What we pay for medical care is outrageous in this country. What we pay for insurance, I work on my own. My health insurance, and I have like, there's 4 levels of health insurance. I have the number 2 level, not the number 1. My number 2 level of health insurance, just for the insurance, is $1,540 a month that I have to pay for my insurance. $1,540, and that's just my insurance. Then I got to pay for the stuff that actually happens when I get sick. You Canadians, imagine somebody telling you owe $1,500 a month just for the insurance. So yeah. So no, I think Canadians would crap themselves if they saw what we went through with our healthcare here. Yours is a pain in the ass when you've got to wait a year, but you don't have to sit there and say, can I afford it? Which is what we have to do. I mean, even for me, I get kind of embarrassed because, you go to the doctor, you're kind of like, by the way, here, you never know how much the procedure is going to cost. You really don't. They don't tell you. You just don't know. You go for a procedure and you're kind of like, okay, I don't know what it's going to cost. I know my insurance will pay, in my case, my insurance will pay 90%. That's pretty good. But you have no idea what they're going to. Now I can get subsidies. Yes, I can get subsidies for insurance as well, depending on my income. So that helps. But what's interesting is, here's the problem. The Republicans want to get rid of the subsidies. Yes. You can get subsidies here if you don't make as much money to cover your insurance premiums. But Trump and the Republicans have been trying to get rid of it. That's called Obamacare. You may have heard of it. The Affordable Care Act, President Obama's healthcare law. It provides the subsidies to help people pay. The Republicans want to get rid of that. So how much what costs? I'm not sure what you mean. Dental and vision? Oh, God, no. As an adult? God, no. 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 Yes. God, no. Thank you, Cinderella, for the gift. Anyway. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'd be considered I don't consider myself well off, but I'd be considered well off, right? Because I'm not poor, But anyway, would I ever leave the U.S.? I'm leaving the U.S. next week for Italy. But I don't know. I'd live abroad. I would live in another country. Are you kidding? Because I love, the thing is, yeah, but my background is international. So like I've studied international relations. I speak, 5 languages, arguably some less fluent than others. So like I would love to retire in another country in principle, but who knows where and, all of that. But yeah, dental and vision, very often not covered here. Dental's even a problem in Europe, I was told. Even for Europeans, like the dental thing isn't always very good coverage. 6 weeks isn't bad, though. Aussie here, it's taken me 6 weeks from a specialist. Oh, that's good, though. 6 weeks from a specialist appointment to surgery, and it's free. That's very good. So in other words, person met with a specialist, they needed surgery, and they scheduled the surgery for 6 weeks, and it's entirely free. That's really good. I mean, I still need some like minor surgery on my hand because I get trigger finger where your finger it sucks because your finger gets kind of stuck because the tendon is swollen. And basically it's a month. It's a month from when it gets, from when you get the appointment, from when you ask the doctor, from when you ask the doctor for the appointment to when you actually get it. Which, that's considered good, right? Beep. There we go. Anyway, great medical care in Sweden. I'm sure you do. Most Europeans do. Greenland, I don't know what he's doing, what Trump is doing with Greenland. I don't know what he's doing there. The Danes are not going to give us Greenland. Honestly, look at the Ukraine example. I think Trump, actually look at Canada too. I think Trump is trying to get government ownership of some of your minerals and stuff. I'm kind of wondering, it just hit me now, but I'm kind of wondering if that's what's going on. You know what I mean? What he's doing in Ukraine. probably taking over some U.S. government ownership of some of the Ukrainian minerals, is my guess. What if he tries to do the same thing in Greenland? What if he tries to do the same thing in Canada and says, we want some rights there? And then we'll leave you alone. And even better, then we'll protect you because now we partially own those, I don't know, whatever the hell mines you might have. I don't know what you have in Canada if you have minerals that matter in that sense, right? But Greenland, hey, Denmark, we'll even protect Greenland. Not that Greenland needs protecting, by the way. But yeah. What else here? Minerals and oil. Where though? Which minerals and oil? Canada is a lot of minerals. I thought you might. What are the top minerals? I can try Google. Hey, Google, what are the top minerals from Canada?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, it sounded weird. Hey, Google, what minerals does Canada have?
On the website natural-resources.canada.ca, they say, Canada is a key global producer of copper, nickel, and cobalt.
Copper, nickel, cobalt.
Mineral projects for rare earth elements,
Okay.
lithium, graphite,
Ooh.
and vanadium.
Lithium, graphite, and something beryllium. I'm forgetting what that was. Interesting. Okay. Well, I've heard about potash, but I wasn't sure if potash, if that's how you pronounce it, is a mineral or something. I wasn't sure what that was. Like I know it's used for fertilizer, but what is it? Is it something you dig out of the ground or something? Palladium. That's what it was. Thank you, Janice. It's something you dig out of the ground. I know it's used for farmers. Yeah, they use it for fertilizer and stuff. Exactly. Yeah. You mine it. Okay, that I did not know. I actually, for whatever reason, it sounded like something you made chemically or something. I didn't realize it was something you just mined out of the ground. How interesting. I did not know that. Interesting. But what is it? Like potassium or something? What is it? Potassium chloride. Okay. Huh. Okay. Oh, it's the potassium in fertilizer. Is that what it is? It's the K in fertilizer. I'm guessing. Yes. Okay. Because fertilizer is like nitrogen. Is it nitrogen, potassium, and I'm forgetting what the third. I should know this as a guy who's into plants. I forget the third. What's the third element? Sodium, not sodium. Potassium, phosphate. Okay. And nitrogen. So this is the potassium, NKP. This is the potassium then. People are saying, oh, you're something with the other ones. Oh, yeah. Potash. It's pronounced potash? Potash. Missed it on a spelling bee. So it's not potash, potash. Potash. Is that the American way to say it though? Hey, Google, how do you say potash?
Polish is spelled P-O-L-I-S-H.
Polish. Polish. That was pretty good. Oh, potash. Potash? Okay, now you're just confusing me. Potash. That sounds like POTUS. Hey, Google, quiet. Now Google. The definition of polish is to make a surface shiny by rubbing it. It's like, okay, are you competing with Alexa now to be dumb? Okay, I'm still not understanding how to say it. Hey, Google, pronounce the word P-O-T-A-S-H.
That's pronounced potash.
Google says potash. Google agrees with me.
I don't understand.
She agrees with me. He. Gender non-binary Google. Google agrees with me. Google said potash. All right. Well, no, I've never actually. Missouri's got it too, but you guys may not have as. Are you saying that's how you? Oh, that's how you say it. Potash. I see, Jeff. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I've never pronounced the word before, so Actually, what I learned last year was a film, a biopic, is not a biopic. It's a biopic. B-I-O-P-I-C. I always thought it was a biopic, and it's a biopic because it's a pic that's like a biography. And my nephew told me this. I said, "Get out of here." Googled it. He was right. That one kind of blew my mind. In Guyana, you have it too. You have what? Potash. Himalayan, wrong. What did it say? I can't even think of how else you'd say it. A movie biography, exactly, a biopic. Sounds weird though. Canada is the U.S.'s largest supplier of potash by a lot, actually. I'd read maybe we get 85% or 95% from you guys. It's some crazy, or I shouldn't say you guys, wherever you're from. Or Rick, you got the flag there, so you must be Canadian. I think we get a huge amount from you guys. Yeah. That actually, when Trump was threatening this, the tariffs, one of the Republican senators kind of stepped in and said, Canada, please don't mess around with the potash. We need it. Because from Iowa, he was terrified of his farmers getting cut off. Yeah. So potash is something you dig out of the ground that is used in fertilizer. It is a key component for making fertilizer. And Canada is the world supplier of it. So it's hugely important for farming everywhere, which of course is a big deal for everybody, farming, So I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you're being serious, but it's a good question. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. Somebody said, I know the meaning of immigrant, but can you explain what a migrant is? Because I hear this term alone. I think you're right. I don't think there's a difference. Somebody else weigh in here. We used to call these people who were here illegal, like illegal aliens or illegal immigrants. Now we're supposed to call them undocumented migrants or something, which I find relatively farcical because to me it's Orwellian. I get the need to change language sometimes, but that's just Orwellian. They're not undocumented. We've talked about this. They're not undocumented. They're here illegally. They didn't lose their papers, right? But the point is, we're supposed to call them migrants now. Now, when I learned all of this stuff, an immigrant was somebody who came to move to your country for good. A migrant was somebody who crossed the border to work for every summer, and then, or not even the border, right? In the summer, they work the fields, and in the mountains, in the winter, they move to the mountains, and then next summer, they move back to the field. Those are migrants because they migrate different times of year or whatever. I don't understand the concept of why we're calling people who come here illegally migrants when they're immigrants. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand what if there's a nuance or if they think it sounds better and that's why they say it. Right, but migrants would travel for work and then go back or whatever. Yeah. I don't. Well, okay, Gothic Elf says, for example, immigrant from another country, migrant from the same country, but other city or province. But the only thing is, if you had an agreement, which I don't know whether countries do, if you have an agreement where people can cross the border to work for the summer and then go back home, they would be migrants potentially. They might not be immigrants because they weren't moving permanently. They were coming temporarily and then, right? I'm quite serious. I think that was the question you meant on TikTok. The guy's name was Joe Biden, Joseph Biden. I don't think that was Joe. I don't know if you were being serious, but I think you were. It's a really interesting question. I was talking to Damien about it the other day. And I said, Damien, why do we call them migrants? Doesn't migrant mean, and he said, yeah. I think the word changed because I'm sorry, but I don't like what I'm being played. And I think I'm being played with the terms. That's what I don't like it. They are immigrants who are here illegally. They are. And we're supposed to call them undocumented because it sounds nice. They're not. And I've said this before. If I go to France and overstay I would love to live in France and Italy. If I sneak into France and Italy and stay, I am not undocumented. I'm there illegally and I'm breaking the law, and I fully expect to go to prison and at the very least throw me out. I'm not a migrant. I'm either an immigrant or I'm actually not even an immigrant, I guess. If you cross illegally, I don't know what you are. You're not even an immigrant to some degree. But I would absolutely expect to be deported. But I'm not undocumented. That sounds nice, but I'm literally breaking European law, and I know I am, and I fully expect they would kick me out if they found me. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, Gunther pulled up a quote. A migrant is a broader term referring to anyone who moves from one place to another, whether within a country or internationally, and it may be temporarily or permanent. Yeah, but that's weird. I think that's a bad definition, because what they're saying is a migrant is somebody who's either an immigrant or a migrant. That's a little self-referential. You know what I mean? A migrant is somebody who's either an immigrant who comes to a country permanently or a migrant who comes there to work temporarily and comes out and back and forth. But you can't have A, B, A, and B. It doesn't work in that case. Yeah. I mean, right, seasonal work. Anyways, whatever. It's a good question. I think the term does need to be updated. Well, they don't want to update the term because it sounds nicer, because migrants are, I don't know what they are, workers, or I don't know what it is. I think it's political gymnastics is what it is. Again, I get the reason why advocates would do it. Sounds good, but it is playing games. Yeah, we should ask Grok. That's cute, Slip. Who's the gift? Thank you, Rydell, for the gift. Yeah, Grok is Elon Musk's Chat GPT on Twitter that he's got, which I don't use for anything. It is funny occasionally. Oh, that's funny. Linda says, go to doge.gov, which is Elon Musk's little program, and check out the transparency. There's nothing there. Let's pull it up and see. Hold on. Oops. Doge.gov. It's a Twitter feed. Yeah, it's a bunch of tweets. Okay, that's nice. This is like a website circa the year 2000 or something. It's a bunch of tweets. Okay, that's nice. Wait a minute. Oh, he's such an ass. Jesus, he's such an ass. Elon's proud. One of the things that really drives me nuts, he's really proud, and the Republicans are, of killing programs that help gay and trans people, and especially international programs. And what's really offensive about it is they don't have a problem with us helping as foreign aid, doing civil rights work. They have no problem with us doing civil rights work for foreign aid, right? But they don't want us doing stuff that benefits gay people or trans people in those countries. And this is, my team has identified a $25,000, which in government terms is nothing, a $25,000 award entitled Empowering. I mean, it's the stupid LGBTQIA plus bullshit term, which nobody should use. I say this as a gay man, but empowering gay and trans refugees in Greece, with the description to provide material, legal, and psychological support to the LGBT asylum seekers and refugees, inform and raise awareness. Okay, so it was helping gay and trans refugees in Greece. But like, why is that per se a bad thing? Because you know what? He hasn't explained why and he says it's been canceled. What he means is it's bad because it helps gay and trans people is what he means. That's what he means. He doesn't mean, oh, they were helping them, I don't know, right? Helping them, I don't know, like pick some stupid thing. He just means they were helping gay and trans people. That's the problem. Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. Whatever, Elon. Whatever. Anyway, why help them? Because we're good Christians, for starters. And we help our neighbor and we help our brother when they're in need. It's sort of Christianity 101. You might want to check it out. The second reason is because helping people around the world who are in need tends to help us. The reason that USAID, which is the International Development Program, was created in the early 1960s by John F. Kennedy, it was not created to help the world. It was actually created to help us beat the Soviets. The whole idea of international development aid, yes, on its face, it's to help the world. That's not why we do it. We do it for totally selfish reasons, as does every country. You do it because you get those countries on your side. And when we help them instead of the Russians or the Chinese, they like us and they want to work with us and they want to do trade deals with our companies instead of Chinese companies. And when it comes to military and security matters, they want to give us their ports. They want to give us their warm water ports and not give their ports like in Syria to the Russians. That's why we do foreign aid. Absolutely, positively. Exactly what OSC just said. It's called soft power. But that is why we do foreign aid. That is why we are involved in the world. And unfortunately, we don't have people on the other side that explain this ever. They never explain this stuff. So they let Republicans say, why are you wasting our money helping people halfway around the world and not helping them at home? And not explaining, did you know AID that Trump just killed? Did you know that they were spending $2 billion a year buying food from American farmers? And that $2 billion a year, poof, gone. It was helping American farmers. Did you know that like 90% of the aid going to Ukraine was spent on American weapons to American companies and American workers? It was literally money going to Americans is what the Ukraine aid went to. Didn't know that, did you? I mean, you did. Of course, you guys did, But in any case, but people do a bad job explaining this stuff. Dan, thank you for the super chat. Dan says migrant equals pushed out of home country, immigrant pulled towards. Now that's an interesting, I was going to say my dog's making an appearance on the couch. That's an interesting thing. Migrant implies they did so partially unwillingly from a former Senate relations staffer. That's a good, when I was thinking of the term, we were talking earlier about the difference between the word migrant and immigrant. I was trying to think like I was saying too, like there's something, that immigrant is I choose to come to your country for a better life. I don't know. I know what you mean though. Like a migrant, the only problem, but even migrant, is an asylum seeker a migrant? A legitimate asylum seeker? I don't think they're a migrant. I don't think so though. I mean, for my terms, right? An asylum, but I mean a legitimate asylum seeker, Soviet Jews, right? Where the Soviet government, the Russian government would oppress them. I don't think of them as migrant. They were immigrants. They were forcible immigrants to some degree. But actually, when what's hard about this too, my family came from Greece. Both of all my grandparents, my mom too. And my mom told me that, my grandfather came in the early 1900s, back and forth Chicago to Greece, bringing money home, etc. But she said the reason he finally brought the family from Greece in 1938 is because the Nazis were coming. And they knew the Germans. I don't know enough about the history, meaning like what they knew when, but she said in 1938, Grandpa knew the Germans were coming, or the Italians in that case. She goes, the Italians were coming for the Germans. And he said, that's it, we're getting out. He said, I'm getting you out of there. And that's why we left Greece. We didn't come to America, which is interesting. Like it wasn't coming to America as, the land of opportunity. It was, we are going to be invaded in the next year by these people representing that horrific power in Germany. And we need to get the hell out of here. I need to get my family out. Does that make my family migrants? Right? Because that wasn't really willing. It was willing, but it wasn't willing. Anyway, you get my point. You've got to, I mean, it was an interesting point, Dan, because it also makes you think about it. But there's a very slow gradation between, hey, I think it'd be fun to live in America, and the secret police are coming after me. I've got to go to America, right? Those are obvious. But what do you get in the middle where you can't make enough money and you move to America, or war is coming and you move to America? It's interesting. Forced migrant? Yeah, but I would never use the term. My family, I would never say we were migrants, right? We were immigrants. And again, look at all the Europeans who came, That's also my problem is I'm not a big fan of redefining other people's experiences. So I don't like people telling me, no, your family were migrants. And by the way, all the other tens of millions of Europeans who came over weren't actually immigrants. Okay, maybe, but good luck telling them that. Anyway, it's very interesting. Thanks, Dan. That was very interesting, actually. But I still don't disagree with you because I feel like there's some difference between like, hey, I'd like to move to America and, oh my God, pick up your stuff. Although I think a lot of the people coming, it's economic opportunity, really. They're not asylum seekers anyway. They're not legitimate asylum seekers. I mean, put it that way. Anyway. Well, that's true. Asylum seekers end up being immigrants, though. Oh, thank you, Janet. Oh, that's a cool gift, Janice. What is that? Level ship. I don't even know what that is. That's very cool. Thank you for that. I've never seen that one before. Thank you for that. That was very generous of you. I do. I like these conversations, Carol. I think it's interesting. I mean, I've always enjoyed. Anyway, like I told you, I enjoy a back and forth on stuff that isn't mean and nasty. I used to go on CNN a lot. I went on Fox News a lot years ago, and they'd always want me on to like debate some Republican or debate some hateful right, Christian religious guy. And it was just always like, really? Do I have to debate again whether gay people are evil? Really? Like, I'm tired of that discussion, Well, that's a whole other thing, right? Emigrated from Greece and immigrant into the US. Exactly. I do have the gift of gab. I admit it. Yep. And I like to talk. I always laugh with this show because the trolls will be like, you're talking too much. And I'm like, should we do the show silently today? Would that be better? Thank you, Julie. Oh, that's funny. Oh, who's the panda? Thank you, Janice. We came to America 30 years ago and people still telling me welcome. I think that means you got to work on your accent, Dura. That's very funny. The thing is, I would not think when I hear accents on people, if they're young, I ask them like how long they've been here. Well, I mean, I ask anyway. Even if somebody's old, I ask how long they've been here. But if they're old with an accent, I assume they could have been here 30 or 40 years. Because once you're over 13, it's very hard to lose your accent. What did my family do for work? My grandfather, before the Depression, he had bought a lot of real estate. I don't know what he did before the Depression. I don't remember that. But I remember he owned a ton of real estate and was rich, basically. Lost it all in the Depression and then ran a diner, Greek diner, literally, and a candy store. They had a candy store and a diner. Yeah. It's cute. We've got the picture in my hell. What the hell? If I've got the book handy here, I think I do. What the heck? I mean, it's the classic. I made this book that was very cool, actually, because it was a book I made of all of our family photos and things of the relatives so that the kids would, remember basically got the family history from my dad and my mom and did a book so that we would have my nephew and I scanned, this is something for you guys to consider to do. We scanned the old photos. We then photoshopped them to make them nice and then printed them in a nice book so that everyone's got copies now. But this is the diner. That's my grandma and her sister-in-law. But I love this thing. 2 fried eggs, 30 cents. Red Hot is a hot dog, 15 cents. Hamburger, 50 cents. Coffee and a roll, 15. And then my grandmother and my grandfather, there you go. The Greeks running the diner. Hamburger, 20 cents. Oh, I'll show you guys. But I loved it at the top with a hamburger, 20 cents. But they're great. But it's a neat, I'm always telling people, do this. It is not easy to do, these books, but they're really nice because rather than inheriting 1,000 photos or 2,000 photos you'll do nothing with. And by the way, when your parents die and your grandparents die, you also forget who those photos are. And we went through and wrote down so that at least I've got the family history. I've got, this was Aunt so-and-so, this was Uncle so-and-so. So it's like a nice, a nice sort of memory of that. Because otherwise, it's true though. Otherwise, someday your parents are going to die and you're going to get a box of photos or worse. Now you're going to get a computer hard drive and go, what the hell do I do with this? Right? With nowadays, it's 20,000 photos. It's even worse, Yeah, write the names on the backs. The problem is now we have a lot of photos that aren't printed. Most of my photos are on my computer. You know, I mean, I don't know why Greeks did diners. It's a very good question. I mean, I'm sure there's an answer to it. I don't really know why Greeks were so into doing diners and stuff. I really don't. You know, I mean, there has to be some answer. Well, the books, you got to look. That book, somebody who was a reader of my blog, I think, at the time, was in Hollywood, and she would make these books for her clients, and her clients would do them as like coffee book. They would give them to rich donors, so like rich Hollywood types that would donate a lot. They would give them a picture book. If they were donating to an animal charity, it was beautiful pictures of the animals and stuff. So she had me use this service that wasn't that expensive. And these guys, that book is a quality book. I mean, a gorgeous book. Oops, Sasha, just wait. You're fine. Come here. I thought she wanted water. She's begging for a treat. Now that book company's out of business. There's a lot of good book companies. Not all of them are as good. Yeah, Shutterfly's one. I mean, the quality isn't as good, the other ones, but they're still good enough. Like that book was a fabulous quality. I mean, those pages were like plastic, you know what I mean? They were beautiful, but I got some of the other books that are still very nice. The diner does not exist anymore. No, we know where it is and everything, but you know, but yes, I did not, there was a USAID death in Myanmar. Really? She does. She wants the toothbrush treat. That's exactly what's going on, Carol. Really? Let me just pull this up. I do have a USAID story I'm going to tell you all tomorrow. I've got some information. Oh. 71-year-old woman dies after being sent home from USAID funded hospital. Others die after hospitals close and refugee camps. A 71-year-old woman has died after her oxygen supply was cut off when the United States announced a freeze on aid funding. Pei Khao Lau, a refugee from Myanmar, lived in a displacement camp in neighboring Thailand, died 4 days after she was discharged from a USAID funded healthcare facility. She is thought to be one of the first people to have died as a direct result of Washington's decision to freeze all funding. Her family told Reuters that she had frequently been sent to hospital in the last 3 years as she was dependent on a supply of oxygen, but was sent home after the development group received a stop work order in late January from Washington. Wow. Well, I mean, that's exactly the point. You know, not only do you build goodwill by helping people, you build a lot of ill will with stories like that. People in Thailand and Myanmar and other places look at that and they think the Americans killed her. Not great. You know, not great. T-Mobile. I've got another T-Mobile story. What I've learned about T-Mobile is don't ever call their customer support people. I called fourth time now. I called them because I'm going to Italy next week to find out what the charges are. They got it wrong. I recorded it this time. I'm recording the fall. I recorded the phone call this time. They got it totally wrong. I reached out to the good people that I deal with, like the high level customer service people that I've been in touch with for a problem I had. I contacted them. They gave me the real story. The other people were like, oh, no, you won't be charged. You won't be charged. Phone calls. If you receive phone calls that don't answer, you won't be charged. I find out, yeah, you will. I mean, I'm telling you, like, literally, there isn't a single conversation I'm ever going to have again with T-Mobile's customer support. 4 times in the last month, they've given me completely wrong information. To how do you record? You do a speaker call on your cell phone and hit record on your iPad. All iPads now have recording devices on them. I kid you not. It's that easy. It's that easy. I literally just went on my iPad and said, is there a record on here? And I went and looked. Let me just see if I've got it right on here. I literally just searched for I searched for record. Actually, I think that's what I typed in. Yeah, I typed in record. Well, actually, 1 second here. It's downloading it again. You just type in the word record or record, but record. 1 second. Still downloading. I hear you, dog. 1 second. Love you. Pull it open. This pad only. Oh, okay. Go ahead. All right. And boom, You press the bottom, and it makes it look like an old tape recorder. You press record, allow, la 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 la, stop, play. Oh, la 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 la. It's that easy. It's a recording of everything you're talking about. So now it depends where you live. In Washington, D.C., it's legal. You only need consent of one person in Washington, D.C. to record a call. Some states, it's simply called record. It's part of the, I believe it's part of the iPhone and the iPad. I don't think it's Apple phones just have those. This is my iPad, and I don't think I downloaded it. I don't think so. I think it's part of the system, voice memos or something. Yeah. But the thing is, depending where you live, thank you, Cece. In Washington, D.C., you don't need the consent of the other party. In some states, like maybe New York or somewhere, you need both parties consenting to the call, or it's illegal to record the call. So you want to be very careful about that. Now, correct. What Gunther just mentioned, by the way, added little benefit. Your iPhone now can record phone calls. But so on your iPhone, when you're in a call, there's a button at the top. I don't know if it's the top right or the top left, some little button you click, and it'll ask you if you want to record the call. You can record the call, but when you do, it announces this call is being recorded, so the other person knows it's being recorded. But it is kind of a neat, I'm giving the dog some water now, 1 second. It is kind of a neat feature. All right, dog, 1 second. 1 second here. 1 second here. There you go. Ooh, I'm grabbing a potato. And I made Greek potatoes. I didn't have any. I made them right before the show. Oh God, they're good. Very good. Sorry, I'm hungry. It's very good. You kind of have to cook them forever and mix them with, it's like lemon, oil, bouillon, lemon, oil, bouillon, mustard, good mustard, oregano, maybe a little thyme. Put them on the potatoes and cook them like this at 350. I'd say more like 350, 375 maybe for an hour, maybe. You kind of have to look at them half a week, make sure you get them off the bottom and flip them. Anyway. It's a good, actually, this was a recipe I got off of, this specific recipe I got off of TikTok. It was a Greek guy on TikTok that does recipes, because it's not easy to make Greek potatoes done right. It's one of those, that's why I said I love cooking, because I find it almost magical. And making Greek potatoes, sometimes you cook them and it's like a plain potato that has some stuff. It's almost like chicken. Like baked chicken often is like, yeah, the skin is good, but the chicken's bland. Potatoes are the same way. Often potatoes, the inside is very bland and the skin might be okay. To cook Greek potatoes right, you've got to really cook it down so the liquid is pretty much gone. And so that the liquid is evaporated and everything's absorbed into the potato, and then it's very good. Thank you, Addie. Oh, are you heading out, Ash? But yeah, lemon potato, basically. Lemons. What's your lemon? What do you mean? Lemon potato. I've got the guy. I'll post it on TikTok. I'll post it on Discord in the recipe section, because I've literally got the guy's. He has a recipe for beef meatballs, for Greek meatballs that you put on top of it. I did it with chicken that was even better. You just chicken parts, lying it out, rub it all over everything, but then put the chicken parts on top of the potatoes. When the chicken's done, you take it out, and then you keep cooking the potatoes down until they're dry. And the chicken really adds flavor to the potatoes. Oh my God. Yeah, German potatoes I've not made, but I want to. We had a woman down the block when I first moved here, a German German immigrant going back decades, but she was like an old lady, like 75, 80 or something. I say old, but 75, 80. And heavy German accent. And she befriended one of my roommates, was from Germany. So they became friends. He helped her do something. I don't know what, shoveled her walk, did something. And she made us German potato salad. And what was interesting was I never liked potato salad because in America, potato salad is usually um, uh, mayonnaise and stuff, which I hate. This was exactly what you said. It was like, I'm guessing here, but lemon, vinegar, onions, bacon. Oh my God. I'd never eaten something so good in my, that's what it's called, Kartoffelsalat. In my life, I never eaten anything so good. Oh my God. Oh, and it kind of absorbs it. And oh my God. Oh, it was, I don't remember if it was warm. I think we ate it warm. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, but I've never made it though. Mayonnaise, things with mayonnaise are a bit heavy, even though I don't mind oil. Mayonnaise kind of grosses me out or something. I don't know why. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'm glad to hear that. Figure out TikTok. I know TikTok gifts are a little bit of a pain. I mean, because, well, the problem, oh, you're in Canada though. So at least you can buy, you have to buy these coins. I will tell you right now and tell everybody. TikTok gifts in general, when you figure it out, you've got to buy coins. It's like going to the amusement park and they make you buy tickets and then you have to use the tickets. It's a real pain in the ass. You got to buy these coins first to buy the gifts. But if you go online on your computer, you can get the coins for 25% cheaper. When you buy them via your phone, you're paying the App Store price like 25, 30% higher. So if you go to your computer and you type in tiktok.com/coins, the price is way cheaper. So do that if you're going to buy coins, and it's still the same account. And then you can go on your phone and you can buy gifts and everything. But the actual coins you buy are cheaper when you buy them on the web. But people tend not to know that. So we make sure it's also, I mean, anybody you buy gifts for, really. Oh, you can go online on your phone. Okay. So in principle on your phone, as long as you go to the website and do it, as long as you do it from the website and not your TikTok app, you should be fine. Okay. Thank you, user 4246. Oh, of course he is. Big surprise there. Thank you, Red, for the gift. And he says, New York Mayor Adams moments ago said he's considering running for mayor as a Republican. That's because Donald Trump pardoned him. Well, it didn't pardon him, but Donald Trump got the Justice Department to stop investigating. He'll probably pardon him anyway. Got the Justice Department to stop investigating him. Big surprise. Big surprise. Thank you, nobody important and Blue Ariel. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go. It's been an hour and a half. All right. Oh, my back is starting to hurt me again a little bit. I'm getting worried. My pinched nerve thing is starting to come back a little. I'm like, no, please. It's been good for like a month and a half. Please don't come back. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I asked for a prescription to at least like an NSAID to at least help, maybe calm things down a little. I know I've got to try the yoga. I will tell you, I've been a little nervous about the yoga just because it is my spine pinching the nerves. And I just get a little worried whether yoga is helping or hurting. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to pinch it more. You know what I mean? So like I'm in a bit of a, I have lots of yoga courses on my computer. I mean, I've done yoga before. But yeah, you're right. I should ask the doctor that. That's a good point. I can't do celecoxib anymore. I used to do it. Celebrex. Europeans will not sell it to you. In America, we've got it. I realized I was getting rashes from Celebrex, which is a famous prescription drug here. And I was getting rashes from it. And I thought, I didn't know what it was, but I was getting a rash. And then it went away. And a couple months later, I got the rash, but I got the rash in the same location. And I mean, we're talking but I'm talking weird stuff like here on my arm, right here, on my neck, right here, like the same locations I got the rash. And I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This can't just be, something in the environment. Right. And I asked one of my doctors and he goes, that's a drug reaction when you get a rash in the same place. What? And I said, well, I actually, we've got a visitor here. Chirp. It's like, I know. Hello. And I said, you know what? I was taking Celebrex. I had hurt something and I was using the Celebrex I had. So I can't use it anymore. Unfortunately, I'm very upset because it was very good. It was very good, but yeah, that's my girl. But it was weird because it was literally a reaction in the same location, which is why I said, what the hell? I had a mark there a month ago. So anyway, I can't use. So yes, what I found is I can use, And I get heartburn too from over-the-counter NSAIDs. I get heartburn, but from meloxicam, I don't. So I just asked the doctor to prescribe more meloxicam for my trip. And I think they did. I got a message from my pharmacy. Thank you, Pingusta. That's good. So maybe that'll help to a degree. I just hope this doesn't come back because it was not fun. It hurt a lot. So we shall see. But yeah, I'll have to, maybe I will leave a message tomorrow and ask them about the yoga thing too. So, because I will do more of my yoga. I just worry about, I don't want to aggravate it. And I don't know how that works, you know, whether you wait till it calms down first or whether we both have the same haircut. Who, me and my dog? I don't think so. Hers is like, really dry skin? I don't think so. I have been to Italy a lot, Jens. Yes. I can't think how many times I've been to Italy. 6, 8 times, maybe 8. I love Italy. The thing is, I haven't been to Italy in 18 years. I love Italy. Italy is probably my favorite country on the planet. Absolutely. I love it. And I speak Italian. I pretty much taught myself Italian. I've been doing my Italian lessons. Dunque posso parlare italiano abbastanza bene quando arrivo. So now I'm more comfortable speaking Italian again because I haven't spoken it in literally 18 years. So I'm very excited. Jubilee. Oh no, are there Jubilee crowds? Well, we're going to be in Lucca, which is a small town, but we are going to go to some other places too. Oh yeah, the U.S. Air Force Base. I know the base. I'm going to forget it until you say it. Outside of Venice, it's a famous U.S. Air Force base. We use it a lot for like supplying missions in the Middle East and stuff. I'm forgetting the name now. Aviano. Yep, you just said it. The second I said it, you posted it. Yep, Aviano. Yeah, I love the Italians. They did threaten to arrest me, but I was 19. My passport had a crack in it where the photo was, and they were convinced I faked my passport. And it was 4 a.m. and I'm on the like couchette, the sleeping car, with like 5 Neapolitans and me, 5 people from Naples and me. 4 a.m. and they come to the door because at that time you took the train. I guess you still do. You took the train from like Paris to Rome, and it was an overnight train. You just gave the conductor your passport, and they did the passport control. 4 a.m. I kid you not, banging on the door, and I hear Aravosis, which is my name in Greek and Italian. And I was like, see? And he's like, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, get out of bed. And I'm like, mind you, it's 4 a.m. Someone's yelling at you in Italian. My Italian's better now. At that point, I was fluent in French and Spanish and bought an Italian book. That was the extent of my Italian. It was good, but it wasn't good. And this guy's screaming at me. And what I'm understanding is the passport, the picture's cracked, blah, 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 blah. And well, no, I didn't hear the picture cracked. I'm thinking it's the photo. Everyone told me, and actually I don't think I've got the photo anymore. Everyone told me, actually, I have a photo of myself at the time though. Everyone told me, literally, every time somebody saw my passport photo, they said to me, you look Syrian. And this is a time when Syria was like a huge terror state under Assad the father. And they just, so I'm thinking, oh, they don't like my photo because everyone who saw the photo said, you look like an Arab, you look like a Syrian. They're going to think you're a terrorist because this is, again, 1983. Okay. So I've got to see if I've got the pictures here. Hold on. My friend sent me a photo of the two of us, which if I don't have, I'm going to grab it. I hope I've got it on here to show you my picture at the time. And I'm thinking the problem is that I've got a photo that makes me look like a Syrian. And I'm explaining in Italian. I said, no. The photo's me. It's just I look darker or whatever. And the guy says to me in Italian, no, we believe the photo is yours. We don't believe the passport is yours. Meaning you cracked open an American passport and slipped your photo in there. And now I'm going, holy crap. What do you do at 4 a.m. at the Italian border when he's telling you faked your passport? So I was freaked out. It was hang on, I think I've got this. Here's my photo. Okay, this was me when I was 19 on the streets of Paris with my friend Ismet. Anybody who knows Ismet, but um, you know, at least to me, I look at that photo and it could be Greek, but it could be anything. You know what I mean? I mean, you could be anything. Well, the Italians were convinced I was an Arab. and then the best part though, as the border guy is getting upset with me and going, we don't believe it's your passport. The people from Naples who are sleeping behind me are going, shut up. And they're screaming at the border guy, yo, stai zitto. Which was absolutely hilarious. And finally, I mean, I told the guy, I said, I don't know what to tell you. I'm an American studying in Paris. I'm going to Rome because I love Italy. My passport, I said, it's been in my pocket and it cracked. Well, anyway, yeah, that was, oh my God. But that was, I was, and they finally were like, okay, which was also very Italian, right? We think you're a terrorist, but you seem nice. So, okay. I'm like, okay, thank you. Oh my God, that was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Anyway, Mark Marquez. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So so Italy. I love Italy. My nephew's there with his wife. I'm going to stay with them. We're going to base ourselves in Lucca and then travel around Cinque Terre, which I've never been to. I'm fluent in French and Spanish. My Italian is very good. I am sometimes fluent in Italian. I will say I have not spoken it for 18 years. I've been doing my book again, my Duolingo and stuff. My Italian is decent again, which is good, but I've got to do more to get more comfortable with it. But my Italian's good. My Greek was fluent. It's not fluent anymore. My Greek is okay. I get by in Greece, but I could never have an argument about politics in Greek. Italian, yeah, 50-50. Greek, I couldn't have an argument about politics, though. Coldplay singer? I like Coldplay. I would take that. Well, this is a very empty time. 5, I'd say. Except that, again, like I said, my Greek isn't as good now, so I'm cautious of how I speak them. But my Greek is still, I get by, but it's, whereas I think my Italian's very good and my Spanish and French are fluent. Yeah. Differing levels, but they're both fluent, I would say. Anyway, thank you, Gunther. Well, we're all hot when we're 19, I suppose, right? Anyway, all right, guys, it's 7:42. We've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes. Let's get going. I will be back tomorrow night, Thursday. A little French, oui. Bon, toujours, je dis que c'est difficile de parler français tout seul, comme toutes les langues, parce que, bon, c'est beaucoup plus facile si on parle comme ça, si j'ai quelque chose à répondre, si j'ai quelqu'un auquel je peux répondre. Bon, donc je parle pas si bien si je parle tout seul. That's the problem. I've got to communicate with somebody or it's hard to speak. Like I can't just extemporaneously, I mean, I could, I guess, but it's a little easier to have a conversation. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd love, in Spanish too, I would love, t'es de Québec? Ah, c'est super. Ouais. J'étais pas à Québec. Une fois, j'étais à Québec, mais vraiment que à, comment ça s'appelle? La cité près de Ottawa. Avec un G. What's the name? Gatineau. Ouais, c'était Gatineau. On y était allé pour dîner, c'était tout. But Spanish y español, bueno, lo aprendí en la escuela, pero durante 12 años. Comencé de estudiar español cuando estaba en el 5º clase, más o menos, ¿sí? Para nosotros es cuando tenía 10 años. Y, bueno, mi perro atrás. Pero sí, estudié español 12 años, entonces ahora hablo bastante bien, pero como con mi italiano, con mi español o con mi francés, no hablo mucho. Entonces no tengo mucha oportunidad de hablar. So, bueno, así. But I always thought it would be kind of fun, though. I considered it. I just don't know how it would work on TikTok. It might be interesting someday, to do a Spanish hangout or a French one. I couldn't do it to Italian again. Maybe when I get back from Italy, who knows? But I just don't know whether there'd be enough people or whether it would be worth it. The Duolingo owl passed away, but I don't know whether it would be too weird. Like it'd be fun though. And it would be easier, like if I had francophones asking me things and commenting, then I could respond, which would be fun, But I don't know. It might be interesting to try. The only thing is, what I don't want is all of a sudden the show is in Spanish and people get confused and they don't follow anymore because they get confused. You know what I mean? So who knows? Who knows? Oh, somebody's upset that I speak languages. Did we speak too much Spanish and French for your sensitivities? You tried to learn Italian? The thing, I mean, I already spoke French and Spanish, so it made Italian easier. Italian is still unique. I think it's too simple when people say, "Oh, if you speak Spanish, you can speak Italian." But no, Ukrainian, I have a very hard time with. I had studied Russian for a year, and it confused me just enough that when I try to speak Ukrainian, I can do a lot in Russian. I mean, my Russian is very simple now, but I'd learned a lot of Russian at the time. So I start remembering vocabulary. And of course, it's Russian vocabulary. It's Russian phrases, spasiba instead of дзякую or whatever. I know a lot of words in Russian, like можно, which might be the same words in Ukrainian. I don't know. So I tried using malajits. Malajits, I want to say is, that's not the ice cream, is it? Or is that a different, oh no, I'm thinking malajinya or some word. What's the word for ice cream? That's not the word for ice cream. What is the word for ice cream? Like maladezhna or something? I remember it being long and was like a mala kind of word or something like that. I could ask Alexa. Alexa, how do you say ice cream in Russian? Maladezhnoy? Morozhnoy? Okay. Morozhnoy. Something like, okay. Morozhne. Alexa, say ice cream in Russian.
Ice cream in Russian is morožené.
Morožené. Okay, morožené. All right. Morozivo. Oh, that's it. Morozivo in Ukraine. Okay. See, that's the problem though. Like I still remember little words in Russian, and I tried looking at the Ukrainian on Duolingo and it just confused me. It really confused me. Honestly, I've always thought like, if I go to Ukraine, which I want to go at some point, I'm probably going to use Duolingo to get my Russian back a little bit, because I've got the base in Russian. As I said, Ukrainian just started to confuse me, and I almost feel like it's starting over again. Whereas with Russian, a lot of you guys do understand the Russian, at least not all of you. And although I hate using the Russian because I feel bad, even though I know a lot of you do speak Russian as your mother tongue in the East, but I probably would brush up on Russian. Yep, in Russian, morozhnoy or morozivo. Okay, very funny. Haitian Creole, never knew Creole. Nope. Polish is definitely. Somebody asked if Polish was similar to Russian. I will tell you this: I met some Poles in Chicago at the airport a couple trips ago, and I was with my dog. We were waiting in the line at the Dunkin' Donuts because I wanted a snack, and there were people next to me speaking, and it sounded like Hebrew. And I asked them, I said, "Excuse me, what language are you? Is that Hebrew?" And they said, No, it's Polish. And I said, "You're kidding me." Only because I said, I've studied Russian. I speak a little, only a little, but I studied it so like I can hear when somebody's usually speaking Russian. This sounded like Hebrew to me. It didn't even sound Slavic. Now, I know it's got to be related in the larger family to Russian, I'm assuming, but I was shocked at how different Polish sounded to me. It didn't even vaguely sound, it just did not sound Slavic to me. I literally thought they were speaking Hebrew. Yeah, I don't know why. To my ears, I was like, because usually, anyway, so the point is, Russian, you'll hear words, enough. I can tell when people are speaking Russian because there's enough words I understand, even though I won't get the whole thing. Ukrainian starts to sound like I have a very hard time hearing any words in Ukrainian, but I hear Russian and I get a lot of like in Russian, I can even hear words and go, "Oh, what was that word? You said blah, blah." In Ukrainian, I hear the word and go, "Oh my God." Yiddish is a mix of all those languages. That's interesting. Actually, that is interesting. Anyway, that's funny. Ice cream in Swedish is glass. Oh, that's funny. That's French too. In French, it's glace. Yep. I'm saying, well, helado in Spanish. Greek is pagoto. That's totally different. Gelato, as you know. Although gelato might be close to glass, might be related. 6 languages in the military. Oh, that's very cool, Dura. I'm hoping he has a good, well, we shouldn't even talk about what your son does. Your son hopefully has a very interesting job if he speaks 6 languages. Yeah, that's very cool. Well, that's one of the things you learn in Washington is to be careful asking people what they do. One of the jokes I always made was not the jokes, it was true. Once upon a time in Washington, you'd ask people what they did. And and I always say it was the funniest thing. You say, oh, where do you, because it's there. I'm going to stay another minute and then we'll go. There is a bad reputation that I think is false in Washington where they say everybody cares what you do for a living. That's because it's interesting what you do for a living. What I do for a living is interesting. And what I do for a living is related to my passions in life, which is like international affairs and politics and activism and journalism. Those are my passions. That's why I do this kind of work, right? So to me, if you ask me what I do just to get to know me, that will tell you a lot about what excites me and what I like and my ambitions. And right. So in Washington, at least, when you ask people, what do you do? That usually is a very interesting thing. And that's interesting because, yeah, I worked on Capitol Hill and right. It's a good point of conversation. And I remember when I first moved here, and I'm sure it's still the same thing now, you'd ask people what they did. And this would be the conversation. Oh, so what do you do? And they go, I work at the State Department. When they would say, I work at the State Department, it means they work at the CIA. And then they'd say, somebody else would go, oh, I work at the Defense Department. When they say I work at the Defense Department, it means they work at the NSA, the National Security Agency. And it was the funniest damn thing because all the time, I mean, obviously there's CIA people that hide it well, but all the time, even the CIA people who were public, who weren't spies, weren't really supposed to say, at least back then, they weren't really supposed to say they were CIA, but they were bad liars. So they would hesitate. And but even to this day, you notice sometimes you're talking to people, and I've had this happen where I've talked to people and I watch them get uncomfortable and I immediately change or I'll even tell them, don't worry. And we'll change the conversation because you can tell they're getting into territory where they're not allowed to tell you what they do, but you're almost asking them what they do. It's a very Washington kind of thing. Anyway, I think it's fun. I've always liked all that kind of work in Washington. Anyway, hello, Catherine Herman. We are leaving right now, but thank you for saying hello. But almost been doing this for 2 hours, so I'm probably signing off now. All right, guys. A lot of words in Swedish from French. Interesting. All right. I'm going to sign off, guys. So good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us for 2 hours. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the company. I'll be back tomorrow, 6:00 Eastern time, US, as always. And we will continue to talk about Trump and Ukraine and everything in between. All right. Tschüss. And have a good night, everybody. Bonne nuit. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. Yep. Salut, Julien. All right. You Discord, as usual. I will sign off at Discord first, then YouTube, then TikTok. All right. There's Discord, YouTube. Bye-bye. Burp. And ticky talk.